America's top law enforcement officer, Attorney General Bondi, ordering an investigation into the origins of the Trump-Russia probe. California's Los Padres National Forest, the scene of one of the state's largest wildfires, having burned more than 72,000 acres and threatening hundreds of homes. Air quality across the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and parts of the Northeast is suffering because of smoke being generated by Canadian wildfires. In Montana, the hunt goes on for 45-year-old Michael Paul Brown, wanted in the fatal shooting of 4 people at a bar in Anaconda, Montana, last week. This is SRN News.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Hi, my name's Neil. I have some advice for you if you've been trying to break free from credit card debt. You can start by doing what I did. Get your bills together and call Trinity Debt Management. Trinity is dedicated to helping people like me become debt-free. When I called, my first experience was a feeling of relief. My counselor was kind, and best of all, she didn't judge me. In just a few minutes, she helped me figure out a plan that consolidated all my bills into one lower monthly payment. This substantially reduced my high interest rates and put me on the road to success. In the end, I saved thousands in interest, and today, my credit card debt is a thing of the past.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-936-5496.
My name is Neil. Take it from someone who's been there. Call Trinity and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-936-5496.
Your home for Goodland High School athletics. Fort Hays Tech Northwest Tech Tiger basketball, the Denver Broncos, as well as the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer. You're listening to Goodland's Rocket 102.5, KKCI FM, Goodland Colby, and NWKS radio station.
Convenience just got an upgrade. Farmers State Bank of Oakley is excited to announce the opening of our brand new ATM along Highway 40, right next to Sonic Drive-In. Whether you're grabbing a snack or on the go, you can quickly access your cash without the detour. It's banking made easy, right where you need it. Farmers State Bank of Oakley, member FDIC.
Today has to be in the mid-90s with breezy south winds at 15 to 25 miles per hour. An afternoon disturbance could trigger some isolated severe storms in the vicinity of Thomas, Rollins, Decatur, and Sheridan counties. Tonight's lows will be around 65. Then tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, heating temperatures into the upper 90s to low 100s. Lows will be in the upper 60s. Heat indexes may reach advisory levels Thursday and Friday. There's a small chance of afternoon and evening storms, but they are more likely to stay to the north in Nebraska until a cold front arrives over the weekend. Fire conditions may need to be monitored if winds become breezy. The weekend, Monday and Tuesday, a ridge will flatten, lowering temperatures into the upper 80s and low 90s, lows in the upper 50s to low 60s, and with a stationary cold front and upslope flow, there's increased chances for storms and severe weather. This is meteorologist Chris Rumick in the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
It's officially county fair season. Text the word FAIR to 785-460-0790 to get a list of all the county fairs and their dates. Fairs are always looking for volunteers, so contact your local carnival or fair board today to volunteer. Sponsors are Oakley Country Club, Smoky Hill Ag, Colby Automotive, F&B Bank, Lohr Electric, Hoover Lumber, Vince's GM Center, Donnellan Jewelry, Farmers and Merchants Bank, Next Tech Wireless, and Buffalo Park Bar and Grill. We hope to see you at the county fairs this summer.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland, and let's get you covered. The insurance agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Summer is heating up, and Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby has everything you need to make the most of it. Tame that lawn with top-notch weed and feed from Ultimate Fertilizer, and keep those bugs away with powerful pesticides. Plus, Ego mower, blowers, and trimmers to get that job done fast. Fire up some summer flavor with a Traeger grill or a Blackstone griddle, and if you're building a fence or even fixing a sprinkler, they've got the building materials and supplies to keep your projects moving. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, your summer project headquarters.
Big deals are rolling at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Drive off in a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 with $3,750 purchase allowance or 0% APR for 36 months and no payments for 90 days. Upgrade to the Sierra 1500 Denali and get up to $5,750 off or 0% for 36 months. Or go big with the Sierra 3500 Pro. $2,750 off or 3.9% for 48 months. Don't wait. Stop by Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland today or shop online at hurlchev.com.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The insurance agency. Insurance the way it should be.
At FNB Bank, we know family comes first. Whether you're opening a savings account for your kids, buying a new home, or planning for the future, we're here to help every step of the way. With personalized service and flexible options, we make banking easy for your growing family. FNB Bank, serving families, strengthening communities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This year, we considered hiring an ad agency to help with our marketing.
They pitched impressive visuals and a script that was inspiring.
And exotic animal mascots to help grab your attention.
In the end, we just decided to tell it to you straight. Shelter Insurance has award-winning customer service at affordable rates.
Plus, our local agents are there to help you understand what coverage you need.
Hi, this is Brent Wood in Goodland. Let me show you why so many clients recommend us to their friends.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4!
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
The amount of money getting thrown around to quarterbacks who haven't done diddly squat is amazing to me.
The High Plains only local sports talk show.
Knows what he's talking about.
Broadcasting live on Rocket 102.5 and streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Not this again.
Yes, this again.
Covering it all from the preps.
Fastball swing and a miss and a strikeout there for Kaysen Cedarstrom.
To the pros.
Mahomes keeps it on an RPO at the 5. Gets a lead block. He goes into the end zone near side. Touchdown, Kansas City.
The Blitz is presented by Hurl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank. Along with the insurance agency, the Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
And a high fly ball out to right field. Does he have it again? He does! Grand slam, Kyle Schwarber! With chance of MVP in the background as he took that swing. He launches his second home run of the night.
1-1. And there's a swing and a fly ball deep out to left. That one is gone! Josh Young did it! Who do you want to pitch to? Well, you pick your poison, and Josh Young makes him pay. A game-winning 3-run shot in the 10th.
Locklear launches one way back, high in the air, and there it goes. Tyler Locklear with his first Diamondback home run.
And good Tuesday morning, everybody. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz. It's always broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, NWKSradio.net. Also, of course, the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream on Facebook, X, and YouTube. So glad that you could join us here on this Tuesday morning. It's August the 5th, another beautiful start to an August day, 70 degrees. The sun is out. Going to be a hot one, though, today. Temperatures expected to rise into the mid to upper 90s. 96 expected high, at least here in Goodland. But a warm day expected to be on tap, and the first of many warm days, like temperatures in the 90s, maybe even hitting the triple digits by the time we get to the end of this week. But I'm so happy you've decided to join us, no matter which way you're doing so here on this Tuesday morning. We've got plenty of things to get to on today's program. We will be talking about the coaches, the college football coaches top 25 poll that recently was released yesterday, and we'll tell you where Kansas State, KU, Colorado all come in that top 25 poll, or do they? We'll get to that. We'll talk a little NCAA tournament basketball expansion and the walk-off. Shreyas Laddha is going to join us. Well, we'll see. I mean, he says he's going to join us. He said that last week, too, and his phone ran out of battery. So he did not pick up the phone because of it. But Shreyas Laddha is going to join us from the Kansas City Star, talk about Kansas Jayhawk football as they continue to get prepared for their season opener coming up here in 2 weeks from this Saturday when they host the Bulldogs of Fresno State at the new booth. And so we'll get his thoughts on everything going on with Kansas Jayhawk football from Shreyas Laddha coming up here in the second segment. We will also get to here in just a matter of moments, Sean Payton with some interesting statements about his football team, the Denver Broncos, yesterday in a press conference. Get to that here in just a matter of seconds. But as always, the FNB Bank text line open at 785-899-2222. If you'd love to be part of the Morning Blitz, would love to hear from you. Get your thoughts, your comments, your opinions in all show long. Once again, on the FNB Bank text line, 785-899-2222. Let us know what you are thinking on this Tuesday morning. Boy, last night, first and foremost, just a crazy night in baseball. So went to the fair last night, had a nice time. Well, definitely a little windy, to be honest with you, at the Northwest Kansas District Free Fair. But got done, and I was in charge of the kids last night. All by myself. My wife was volunteering and helping out there at the fair. And so I was in charge of all three kids under the age 5 and under. And so got them to bed and finally got myself and was sitting down to kind of get ready for the show. Probably, about 9:15, 9:30. And was looking around and just kind of checking up on seeing what was going on in baseball. And I'll tell you, it was a crazy night in Major League Baseball. A crazy night. Starting with the bad. I mean, the bad was, and it was really bad, it was that the Colorado Rockies just got blasted last night. Blasted, losing 15-1 to the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, the 15 runs part, I'm not going to say that's a total shocker. Like, that was not the number. Like, I remember looking at the score and I was like, oh, ouch, that hurts. That was not great from the Rockies there. Got absolutely pounded by the Blue Jays, who are one of the better teams in the American League this year at 6-6-48. So give them some credit. But I thought, boy, that score hurts. But then I looked and I saw the hits. And that is where I was like, whoa. The Rockies got out hit last night 25-8. Let me repeat that. 25-8 in the hit department. The Rockies got out hit. 25 hits, 15 runs on 25 hits with 15 RBIs, 3 home runs. They were only struck out 5 times for Blue Jay batters last night by the Rockies pitching. Tanner Gordon got absolutely spanked in his first 2 2/3, giving up 7 earned runs on 11 hits. Carson Palmquist gave up 5 earned runs on 7 hits. I mean, it was rough. A rough day at the office for Colorado pitching. I mean, that just blew my mind. 25 hits in a single baseball game. There are some teams that don't get 25 hits over the course of a week in a season. That's just nuts to me. Absolutely nuts. So that was a ridiculous stat I saw. I mean, there were, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that had 3 or more hits last night for the Blue Jays, including the shortstop, Ernie Clement, who had a 5-hit game. 5 for 6, 3 runs scored, only 1 RBI, though. Just ridiculous. A 15-1 loss. So the Rockies get rocked. And it really does make me question, and I know that the Rockies did it in the past, but why in the world, but it's been happening for a long time. And the Rockies used to be better about it just maybe 5 years or so ago, when Trevor Story was still there and some other pieces. But, how is it that other teams can just absolutely mash at Coors Field and Colorado just can't? I mean, that's just nuts to me. I mean, it is amazing. You play in a ballpark where anytime an opposing team comes in, there's usually one game in there where that opposing team just lights up the scoreboard. I mean, they're using lights that they don't usually use on the scoreboard when some teams come there. I mean, that's how many runs they score. And yet the Rockies just usually don't do it on a very consistent basis. It just proves two things to me. Number one, how this roster needs to be overhauled over the course of time. I mean, the pitching is not good enough to keep other teams down. And the Rockies, once again, I think the biggest thing, they don't know how to use their ballpark to their advantage. Once again, I go back to having a bunch of mashers in the lineup. Yeah, you might have guys that strike out a lot, but guys that go up there and just absolutely hit the cover off the ball and power it all over the place. That they have not done a great job of either finding those guys in the draft and developing them, or they're not doing a good enough job of bringing those guys in. Because it's just amazing to me that every other team in Major League Baseball that comes and visits Colorado can just have a field day out there, and the Rockies on a semi-consistent basis just can't. That's what's nuts. Now, I do know they scored 17 runs in a 17-16 come-from-behind win last Friday against Pittsburgh. I understand that, but it's just crazy to me. Royals, by the way, fall. They lost last night. They lost to Boston, which shouldn't feel all bad. Boston's won MLB best 6 in a row at this point in time. Jarren Duran, who could have been a Royal if they wanted to do some wheeling and dealing at the trade deadline from the way it sounds, although Boston got hot and they probably want to keep him around. But Jarren Duran had a 3-run homer. They were up 5-0 after the first inning, where the Red Sox and the Royals tried to come back, but didn't have enough. And like I said, a couple more thoughts here just on baseball last night before we get into the first topic here. But, man, Kyle Schwarber just absolutely murdering baseballs. That's another thing. Like, we were talking about Kyle Schwarber a few weeks back during All-Star break because he was the guy who won the home run swing-off for the National League. And I remember going into my spiel about Kyle Schwarber. I just can't say enough about him. I love Kyle Schwarber. I got a man crush on that guy. That guy, I remember him in college at Indiana. I've said it many times before. I just remember watching him, and his ability to hit the baseball was something I had just not seen very much of. The guy could absolutely crush a ball, and he did it yesterday. He had I think, a 2-run shot. He had 2 home runs yesterday in their game against the Orioles. A 2-run shot that he just absolutely murdered into the third deck of Citizens Park there. And then later on in the game, he had a grand slam home run as well. I mean, the guy has 40 home runs. He leads the NL. He's getting MVP chance. The guy is a machine in the batter's box and a lot of fun. A lot of fun to watch is Kyle Schwarber. And also late last night, a walk-off winner for the Rangers over the Yankees. An interesting scenario. I know they had Wyatt Langford was up to hit, and the Yankees decided to walk him to get to Josh Young. And Josh Young said, "That's fine. I'll take you deep." And that's what he did. Took him deep, and they win the walk-off 3-run blast over the Yankees to get the win last night. So a crazy night of baseball, as I came to kind of realize as I sat down and got ready for the show. And I just wanted to bring up those points. Just thought there were just some big-time hits last night and some interesting storylines in the world of baseball. Okay, I want to get to our topic here for the next 10 minutes or so. And once again, if you want to be a part of the show, hit us up on the text line, FNB Bank text line, 785-899-2222, if you'd like to get your thoughts in here. I'm sure one listener will be chiming in, I would assume, on this topic. But I don't know if anybody saw this yesterday or not, but Sean Payton was at the podium after practice talking with the media, as he usually does from time to time. And he had a very bold statement, I thought. He had a very confident statement saying that this Denver team is a Super Bowl team. A Super Bowl team is what he says. He told Yahoo Sports that he believes this Bronco team can win it all, calling them the 7th Super Bowl caliber team he's coached. And he goes, and they kind of asked, why do you think that? He would go on and say things, well, we've got a quarterback in Bo Nix, who could be a top 5 quarterback within 2 years. We'll see. We got a rebuild offensive line, an elite defense, solid ownership, and belief from the top down. He says everything is in place. That was a quote there from Sean Payton. So is Denver a Super Bowl team? I mean, here's one thing that I will get behind Sean Payton on this and say, I do agree with him. I think they have a roster that they could do it. Now, there's 2 big factors that come into play. Does your offense take a step this year underneath Bo Nix? And he's exactly right in that quote. You know, kind of the key is Bo Nix. If Bo Nix takes that step and doesn't regret, he had a really good rookie season. I mean, a really good rookie season. but does he take that next step and continue his growth, or does he regress in a sophomore slump? I mean, last year, Bo Nix completed 66% of his passes for over 3,700 yards, had 29 touchdowns to 12 picks. I mean, if that completion percentage gets up over 70 and he throws for over 3,000 yards, again, maybe even closer to 4,000 yards, and he gets those touchdowns into the 30 range, interceptions down a couple, absolutely. Absolutely, they have that chance. But what if he drops his percentage? His clean percentage stays the same or goes a little bit lower, maybe 65, 66%. He's still throwing for about 3,700 yards. Maybe those interception numbers come up a little bit. Touchdown number, maybe he's 25 and 15, 25 touchdowns and 15 picks. I don't know if that's going to be enough to get it done. So I would agree with him. If Bo Nix takes the step and goes from being a really good rookie quarterback to being a solid, really good second-year guy, I think the Broncos have a lot of other pieces. I question how much they're going to put on him. I mean, that's the thing. Like, when Sean Payton won Super Bowls, I feel like as if, it was a lot on Drew Brees and his processing and his ability to make great throws, smart throws, and he had a lot of weapons on the outside. To an extent, I mean, the Broncos have they have weapons, but none of them are like, what I was trying to think of, like, there was Jimmy Graham that he was throwing to. I'm thinking Drew Brees now at the Saints. There was Jimmy Graham. Wasn't there Michael Thomas? And I could be thinking of some other guys, but yeah, I mean, there's Cortland Sutton out there, but a lot of other guys, we're going to need a little bit more. Going to need probably some more from other guys. Other guys are going to have to step up and make plays. I mean, Everett Ingram hopefully is going to be that guy at the tight end room for them this year, but I think they're going to need another wide receiver, so to step. Not that they don't have options, but one of those guys is going to have to come up be a bigger weapon, I would think, as a number 2 wide receiver behind Cortland Sutton. And then I think they once again, this is my philosophy in football. I think you have to be able to run the football in order to have success. That even though that point gets proven, I think less and less more true as the years progress on, would just become more of a passing game. But I think if you have a running game, that really, really helps you. And I just don't know who's going to tote that rock. I mean, is Dobbins going to be able to stay healthy enough to run the ball? Is RJ Harvey does not seem like an every down back to me. He seems more of a scat back type. Is Audric Estime going to be that guy that they're going to hand the ball off and pound the ball to? I don't know. I mean, they have to find a running back, I would say, that they can rely on a little bit more consistently than maybe the ones they had last year. They don't have Javonte Williams. So who are they going to give that ball to? That is going to be a big question mark for me, is who are the Broncos going to hand the ball off to, and can they develop another wide receiver to go along with the fact that Bo Nix does not regress in his sophomore year like some guys do with a sophomore slump? That's going to be big, because there is no doubt that offensive line has been rebuilt and it is very solid. They've paid good money for that, and I think that has been that's worth every investment they've put in. There is no doubt their defense is elite, particularly in the 2 areas that are the most important. When you look at defensive line led by Zach Allen and DJ Jones and Nick Bonito, those guys up front, they added Dre Greenlaw at the linebacker spot, which is really big. And if they can stay healthy at the linebacker spot, that'll be very helpful. And then, of course, you've got a phenomenal secondary with Talanoa Hufanga and Pat Surtain II and Riley Moss, who's been good. And can't forget, of course, about Jahdae Barron that's come up and has been a rookie and has sounded like he's having a great camp at this point in time. So they have a lot of things. I mean, defensively, I feel very, very confident. Very confident. So there's no doubt that Sean Payton is correct that they have that great solid ownership. I mean, unbelievable ownership. I mean, when you own Walmart and you're going to make that kind of money, I mean, it's easy. I mean, I put my payment in every week for the Broncos, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But the belief from the top down, I would agree with Sean Payton. Everything's in place, but it is true that Bo Nix is going to be a massive key. But I also think they have to find another maybe wide receiver or 2 that can be a little bit more reliable, and they have to find a running back that they can rely on too. I think that's going to be a big time key. I really, really do. We'll see. We'll see what that means. going forward here in the coming weeks, in the preseason, and then when we get into regular season, we'll know a lot more. But yeah, I think Sean Payton, I don't think is too far off. Another thing that does stand out to me that could be in the way of the Denver Broncos is the division they play in. I mean, not to put all the I mean, we all know the Chiefs, of course, got a team that's gone to the Super Bowl for how many consecutive years. They're amazing and awesome, but there's some really, really, and I do mean really good coaching in the AFC West. Whether it's Andy Reid or Sean Payton or now Pete Carroll at Las Vegas, who we know has been a great coach at Seattle and, led USC to national championships in the college game. And the Chargers have Jimmy Harbaugh, who's got a college national championship and has played in a Super Bowl before. I mean, every single coach in the AFC West has coached in a Super Bowl game as a head coach. And let's see, have they all won one? I think Seattle. I don't know if Seattle's won one. I don't think Carroll did. He maybe. Nah, I don't think so. But I think 3. And Harbaugh hasn't. So it doesn't matter. But all 4 of the guys that are coaching a team in the AFC West have gone to a Super Bowl and have coached in a Super Bowl. I mean, that is it. It's an unbelievable depth of coaching. And those coaches, because they've made it to the highest level in professional football, they know what it takes to get there. Now, I think Vegas is still probably a few years away from being super contenders. They've got some rebuilding to do. Chargers continue to show that they've got a great quarterback and weapons on the outside, although that's changed a little bit this year. But I think that's another thing that you've got to pay. I mean, you're going to be in a very, very difficult division. If you're going to make a run at the Super Bowl, you're going to have to beat some very, very good teams, and some very smart and very good coaches. So that could be another thing I think that stands in the way of the Broncos possibly being a Super Bowl team this year. But if you are able to get past them, or like you did last year and make it in a wild card spot, you're going to be well tested. You're going to be well prepared for that season. That's for sure. And that's another thing too. I mean, in the NFL, it's all about close games. Can you win some close games? Comes down to a few plays here or there. We'll see if the Broncos have done that. But yeah, that running back room to me is a humongous question mark. And can they find someone there to be a consistent force in the backfield? So that would probably be my number one concern. Behind then probably after that, Bo Nix / wide receiver core, who you're going to rely on besides Cortland Sutton. Everything else, although otherwise the Broncos have a lot of questions answered. They really, really do. And that's why I could see Sean Payton being confident in his team. And he's been there before. He's won a Super Bowl. He's hosted a Lombardi. He knows what it looks like. He knows what it takes. And so if he thinks that he's got himself a roster that can do that, they probably do. But there's a lot of factors that go into that. They play in a much tougher division, I think, than the NFC South than he played in originally. There's a lot more better coaching up and down in this division. And you still have a young quarterback. And if Bo Nix, but a young quarterback, I should say, in his experience in the NFL. Now, he is, I think, 26. He is an older guy. And that is a humongous advantage for Bo Nix, is that he is older. He is a grown man back there, despite maybe not having the years of experience in the NFL. He has seen a lot of football. He's played a lot of it in college and high school, and his dad was a coach, and always an advantage there. So I like Sean Payton's confidence. Is it going to be a Super Bowl team this year for the Broncos? We'll see. I do think that they've got, I would agree with him. There are a lot of pieces in place, but the pieces that you're still trying to kind of make sure they fit, or are they, you're waiting to see if those pieces, if they fit and how well do they fit? And those questions need to be answered with Bo Nix and a few other things on the offensive side. But Sean Payton, once again, very confident in the Denver Broncos Super Bowl caliber team, says they can win it all, is what he says. The 7th Super Bowl caliber team that he has coached, he says. Everything is in place. That is Sean Payton, head coach of the Denver Broncos, yesterday after practice. Okay, let's get to a timeout. When we come back, we are going to talk with Shreyas Laddha. Once again, covers the Kansas Jayhawks for the Kansas City Star. We'll get his thoughts on everything he has seen as the Jayhawks continue to prepare for the season opener coming up 2 weeks from this Saturday against Fresno State. You're listening to the Morning Blitz here on a Tuesday.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
Are pests making your home or business uncomfortable? Call Pest Away in Goodland, Kansas, serving all of Northwest Kansas. They provide top-notch pest control services to keep your space safe and pest-free. From ants to rodents, termites to spiders, our expert team is here to help with effective, safe, and affordable pest control solutions. Don't wait. Call Pest Away today at 785-728-7166 for fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
This is Austin Wright with the Anderson's Trade Group in your morning market update. September corn paused at 385 3/4. December corn 405 1/2. March corn 423 1/4. September KC wheat 514 1/2. December KC wheat 534. March 26 KC wheat 553 3/4. November soybeans 999 1/2. January soybeans 1017 3/4. March 26 soybeans 1034. Dow Jones futures are currently down 3 points this morning at 44,300. S&P 500 futures are currently up 8 points at 6,364. NASDAQ futures are currently up 61.75 points at 23,358.25. Gold is currently down $6 at $3,420.4. Crude is currently down 99 cents at 65.30. For your grain marketing needs or more information on our freedom pricing tools, you can reach the Kansas City office, Jared Law, Tyler Ghosh, Tom Saludo at 913-748-3000. In Colorado, John Hankey and John Stiles at 970-744-4484.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords. Turn on multi-factor authentication.
This season, Army Worm better watch out. Because
pay any fees or commissions. Visit HaydenOutdoors.com to learn more. That's HaydenOutdoors.com.
It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid? Why?
Your daily dose of sports.
All right, we're rolling along on a Tuesday morning, August the 5th. Once again, going to be a toasty one today. Temperatures into the mid to upper 90s here on the high plains. Glad you've joined us on the Morning Blitz. We will get to the top 25 coaches poll that was released yesterday in college football. I'll tell you where area and regional teams stack up. We're pleased to be joined on the phone, the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline, by our good friend from the Kansas City Star. That'd be Shreyas Latta, who joins us now. Shreyas, good morning. How are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am doing well, my friend. Thank you so much for hopping on the program. Really do appreciate you squeezing us in today. I just want to dive right into this Kansas football team and what's been you guys have gotten a lot of access, it looks like, to watch some fall camp practices. What has really stood out to you as you've watched this team prepare for that season opener here in a couple weeks?
Yeah, the mentality, I think, this year, to rectify what happened last year after all the hype that was put around Kansas. And obviously they didn't quite live up to it last year. They got 5 wins after some people had them winning 10, 11, etc. I think, Kansas is now a little underrated on the opposite end. I mean, the schedule is a little easier said than done, and I think that's the way a lot of these guys like it, is being the underdog. Obviously, fall camp, it's tough to make a lot of big assessments because we're not seeing really huge practices, a lot of ball control drills, etc. But I've heard good things about Emmanuel Henderson, Alabama transfer, wide receiver. Jalen looks pretty good. And I think there's a lot to be excited about if you're a Kansas fan this upcoming season.
Yeah, you brought up, I saw your article that you wrote here just about 24 hours ago talking about Emmanuel Henderson and how he is going to possibly be a humongous impact player, the Alabama wide receiver transfer. And that's a room, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's a room that there's a lot of question marks going into that wide receiver room, correct? There was a lot of talent on that team last year at the wide receiver spot. It has all moved on and graduated or on in other areas. And now you've got a fresh new wide receiver room. How do you think this new wide receiver room will stack up to the old one?
I'm excited for it. We look at guys like, even like Deshaun Hanukkah, a tight end. They didn't have a dynamic tight end last year. They have him, the transfer brought him from Rice, I think, adds some versatility in that room. I think, they missed that lack of Mason Fairchild last season. This year, they brought in Columbia wide receiver, Emmanuel Henderson, Wentz, and a plethora of transfers, guys who are experienced, have played college football for a minute. They add different things to the team. Henderson is like the fastest guy on the team, is what I've been told, and what they mentioned at the press conference. The strength and conditioning coach, Matt Gildersleeve, mentioned Henderson is quicker than even Jason Dean. And I said in the story, but that's crazy because Dean went up to 22.4 miles per hour against Oklahoma a couple of years ago. So there's been a lot of hype around him and what he can add, and he could be a guy who could be a real bona fide number one. I mean, he's a guy that didn't get a lot of playing time in Alabama, but he was a guy that did play a lot of special teams, didn't play a lot of wide receiver snaps, but he has 5 catches over 3 years, including a 34-yard catch against Georgia last year, which is a big catch. He played around 400 or so snaps on special teams. He could play multiple roles for this Kansas team. He's already the designated kick returner, it looks like, and he's auditioning for the punt returner role as well. I think he can add a lot to this team that they've just simply missed. I think he's comparable to Quentin Skinner, but even better is what I've been told and what I've heard from a lot of players.
Shreyas Latta is our guest, joining us on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline on this Tuesday morning. What about some other guys that are in that wide receiver room, whether it's Bryson Canty or Cam Pickett or some other guys? Who do you, because you got to have more than just one guy out in that wide receiver room.
Yeah. No, I've heard good things of Bryson Canty and Cam Pickett. Both those guys have done a good job. I think, what Kansas has done a really good job of this time is bringing transfers who exemplify the culture and everything you need on that end. A lot of these guys on the team who have been there for a while have talked about how good Leipold and co have done at picking the right guys who have picked up the way Kansas plays football, the way their culture is, and they fit right in. I think a lot of people are saying they fit. The natural fit has been a lot quicker than anticipated. Bryson Canty is a guy to watch. Levy Wentz is another guy to watch. There's a lot of guys who are going to do a lot of different things for this Kansas team. I'm excited for Deshaun Hanukkah, who comes back from a torn Achilles tendon. I know there was a lot of hype around him before that tear. It seems like he's back to normal, or as close to normal as you can be from something like that. And just the opportunities for Jalen to go out there and make things happen with his arm and his leg.
You talk about Jalen Daniels. When you look back, and you've had almost a whole year now to kind of reflect upon it, why do you think last year went such as roughly as it did for him?
I think there was an adjustment period of, getting back to normal from the back surgery and all the back stuff he had to have. I mean, he didn't get a chance to really play much with the wide receivers during the offseason, during spring ball, during fall camp. So it was a little bit of it felt like halfway through the year, he kind of got back to normal. And I felt like those first 5-6 games were rough because he just didn't have that chemistry that he usually has with these guys. And I think a lot of that is because he was injured and he wasn't getting the chance. Now, I think he is already ahead of curve, even with the knee surgery, minor knee surgery is what they called it. He had in February. He's been practicing with these guys. He even brought a lot of the wide receiver room to his home state of California before Big 12 Media Days. And they worked out together for 3 or 4 years. So, I think he's already ahead of the curve in that sense. And I feel that he's going to have a much better season than he did last year. And it'll look a lot closer to what happened the second half of the season than the first half.
Now, that's a pretty impressive thing to say, considering, once again, all the guys they lost in that wide receiver room and stuff. And they lost, of course, Devin Neal. And that has created an interesting battle in the backfield between, Daniel Highshaw and LaShawn Williams. How has that running back room kind of formed here through the first couple weeks of camp?
Yeah, those guys are doing a tremendous job. I've heard great things about Highshaw, and he's ready to be the next man up, to kind of fill in Devin Neal's big shoes. LaShawn Williams, those two guys, I think, are going to have a very interesting tandem. They're maybe not quite as talented as Devin Neal is. It's hard to be with how good Devin Neal was. But I think they offer a different style of running. Highshaw's always been the power back. Williams can kind of fill in that role that Devin Neal leaves behind. I think, they're hoping to use both those guys in the passing game a little bit for dump offs, et cetera. And I'm excited to kind of see how they look because, like you said, Devin Neal is a KU legend, and he's a guy that Kansas really relied on the last couple of years. Now it's up to Highshaw to stay healthy and Williams to play as well as he looked at Iowa.
Who will make a bigger impact, LaShawn Williams or Emmanuel Henderson?
I think Henderson's going to be a bigger impact. I honestly, legitimately have not. I've covered Kansas football for almost 3 seasons now. I have not seen this amount of hype around anybody outside of Devin Neal and Jalen Daniels on the offensive side as I've seen with Henderson. Everybody has been talking about him. The quarterbacks, the coaches, Leipold, Jalen Daniels, etc. It's clear that Kansas went out and got a pretty good player that should have been playing at any other school, but Alabama. It's hard to kind of get snaps there. He could be a real bona fide number one that Jalen has never really had. And if he's healthy and the connection between him and JD6 is there, you could see a guy who could have over 800, 900, 1,000 yards per season.
Once again, we are visiting with Shreyas Laddha, covers the Kansas Jayhawks for the KC Star, joining us on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline on this Tuesday morning. How about the offensive line? How has that looked here, protecting Jalen Daniels and creating holes for those running backs to run through?
I think they've looked pretty good. I think they, obviously they have a little bit of a different offensive line in the last couple of years, but, Coach Alex Agpulsa has done a good job of making sure, the changes haven't affected. It's hard to sit there and say how good they actually look until we say them play games. But, I think if I've learned anything from watching Kansas football is even with new faces in the offensive line, and maybe there might be a little bit of adjustment period of a few games, the offensive line has always done a pretty good job of protecting Jalen and creating holes for the running backs. It might just take a little more time to get back to the standards that they've set in the previous few seasons.
Another question for you on the offensive side, Trace. Jeff Grimes going into his second season of leading this offense, and along with Matt Lubick, how have those guys come together to morph and make this offense work, hope a little bit smoother here in 2025?
Oh, I think Zabrowski. Zabrowski is the new offensive.
My apologies, Zabrowski.
No worries. I think having him back, as basically the head offensive coordinator, as because I think he was co-offensive coordinator with Jeff Grimes. That Grimes was the guy who decided everything last year. It's a big deal. I had a player tell me he's not on the team anymore. That everyone's excited for Zabrowski to come back, but I don't quite understand why he wasn't the offensive coordinator last year. So I think there's an excitement level of him being close to the quarterback room, the quarterback, and continuity there. We saw him as an offensive coordinator against UNLV, and Kansas played great in that bowl game on the offensive side, especially. So I think there's a lot of hope that he can kind of do some special things that he did in that game and kind of showcase his talent. And, there's continuity. I think that's a very underrated thing in college football is having a coach or a player be there for an extended period of time, especially in this day and age of transfer portal season and coaches bouncing around as well. Zabrowski sticking with Kansas and becoming the offensive coordinator, I think, is going to pay dividends.
Shreyas Lotta continue to join us from the Kansas City Star here on the Morning Blitz. We've talked all offense. What about this defense? Is it going to be a very portal-heavy defense here in 2025?
Yeah, it's pretty portal-heavy defense. They've gone out and picked up some veteran cornerbacks to replace Kobe and Melo, who are, KU legends is the word I'd use there. I don't know if they'll be quite as good pass defense-wise, but they do have guys with plenty of experience. DJ Graham, Saeed from Georgia Tech. These guys bring in play experience, which I think is big. The defensive line, I think, is going to be pretty good this year. I think my biggest question mark with this defense is how good does the pass defense look? I mean, Kobe and Melo made things a lot easier for the rest of the team. Obviously, they're gone now, both NFL guys. But, I don't know how good or bad this pass defense is going to be until we get a couple of games in. I think their first real test will be against Missouri week 2.
What do you think about the defensive line and how they'll get a push up front, if any?
Yeah, I feel confident about it. I think they'll be good. I mean, they bring in some guys who have been there for a minute. Continuity, like I said, is big. They brought in some guys from other schools as well. I mean, really, this Kansas team has gone out there and picked up a lot of guys in the portal, and they had to. They had over 36 players graduate or leave the program, and that is not a small sum. And I think Kansas has been very busy the last couple of months picking up guys and picking up the right fits. And I think the defensive line can be a strength for the defense. I think, the big question is who's going to get to the quarterback. D. Miller's there. He brings continuity back. If you can get to the quarterback, I think that goes a long way in making it easier for the safeties, the secondary, et cetera, to be not relied on as much as they need to be.
Shreyas Lotta, Kansas City Star. Okay, I'm gonna go to a subject that not a lot of people ask about, I think, in interviews, but special teams. You mentioned Emmanuel Henderson being the return man probably, and could be a big playmaker for them. What about the kicking game? Laith Marjan and those guys, how do you think the kicking game looks this year?
I think it has a chance to be better than last year. I think, no disrespect to the kicker from last year, but there were some limitations to his leg and how far he could go. And, I think the kicking game could be even better than it showcased last year. And I think they can trust some of the guys that have competing for the kicking spot. And I'm really intrigued to kind of see how the punt return and the kick game and the returning game looks because those are the things that win you football games, is getting 3 points when you necessarily can't get a touchdown.
Shreyas, what was it like to get to watch? Did you get to catch the team practice in the new football stadium? And what are your thoughts on this new stadium they're going to be playing in here in a couple weeks?
I actually did not get the chance. I just got back from Seattle as a journalism conference, but I saw a lot of highlights. It looked sick. I think I'm very excited to kind of see them play this new stadium. I think it looks a lot better than I anticipated it to look. A lot better than renderings make it look. And honestly, I think it's made Kansas football on the map for one of the cooler stadiums in NCAA. And I think that's all you can really ask for, especially for a program like this where, everyone knows about basketball, but it's football that's been on the up and up in the last couple of years. And I think it's going to make things easier in the recruiting world as well.
I was going to say, do you think this will have a long-term impact for Coach Leipold?
Absolutely. They've got out there, invested in facilities, they're invested in this stadium, they've invested in a lot of things. It's a lot easier to sit there and recruit guys and say, we've done all these new things, these are the new things you have, than just, kind of have the old, stadium, the old facilities, et cetera. And that's the stuff that matters in in-state recruiting battles. That's the stuff that matters for guys who are coming in as experienced stretchers as well. Having the chance to kind of be around something new, get to represent the new era of Kansas football, I think is something a lot of people don't take for granted.
Once again, Shreyas Lotta, our guest here. I'll let you go on this one, Shreyas. Changing over to basketball, Bill Self has had quite the offseason, not only health-wise, but in reshaping his roster. And it really feels like he's kind of gone back down on his roots, I guess, kind of doing things the way that he wants to do it, and maybe not recruiting towards the 5, or even though he's got a 5-star, maybe not going after the top name guys. How much confidence are you feeling from Coach Self after a summer of kind of revamping that roster, getting ready for this upcoming season?
Well, I think there's a tremendous amount of confidence. I think there's a chance this team is going to be very athletic, very defensively inclined. I think they're going back to the roots, like you said, of Bill Self basketball. He's playing quality defense, getting easy buckets in transition with athleticism, and they have a bona fide NBA talent in Darren Peterson. Last year's team had not a single guy even get NBA looks for, in actuality. Yes, Hunter Dickinson got a 2-way contract, but none of those guys that were there on the last year's roster that declared for the draft or whatever were NBA level caliber players. A 2-way contract is great for Hunter, and he deserves that. But Darren Peterson's gonna be a top 3 pick if he stays healthy. Like that is an underrated thing. Like we saw how good Kansas looks when they have actual NBA level talent. Jalen Lewis and Grady Dick a few years ago. Those guys, Kevin McCullough the year before, year after that. All those guys are, make it a lot easier for Kansas in the long run. And just overall, I think, he feels very excited about his roster and everything that he's done to kind of build around Darren Peterson.
Shreyas, I usually know over the summer that you find a way to take a cool trip somewhere. Did you happen to go anywhere fun this summer besides Seattle, obviously?
Yeah, Seattle was cool. I was in May. I went to Europe. I was in Lisbon, Barcelona, Madrid, and Mallorca for about 2 weeks. It was a lot of fun. Honestly, the summer was a busy summer and some travel stuff. I went back home for a wedding back in Atlanta back in early July. Was in Toronto for a few days. But I'm excited and ready to kind of be back and set back to the routine of KU football, KU basketball, and kind of ready to get back to the grind.
The worldwide traveler, Shreyas Laddha of the Kansas City Star, covers the Kansas Jayhawks. Shreyas, thank you so much, my friend. Great. Great stuff. We'll catch up with you down the road.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Once again, great stuff there from Shreyas Laddha here on the Morning Blitz. Yeah, very interesting to hear him talk about this Kansas football team and kind of where they go. And there's a lot of confidence coming out of Shreyas. Talk about that offensive unit, particularly Manuel Henderson, the wide receiver. We'll see how big of an impact he will make for this Kansas team. Just a lot of questions to be answered. Hopefully year 2 underneath Jim Zabrowski and Matt Lubick coming in, helping maybe fine-tune some things maybe in the option game out of the shotgun. And but you got a lot of question marks to answer. We'll see. I don't know how much we're going to learn week 1 against Fresno or week 0 against Fresno State. We'll learn more in the coming weeks after that. But he is right. It is a very manageable schedule. Hopefully those transfer portal guys hit both offense and defense, and Kansas could be sending themselves on their way to another bowl game here, and maybe a pretty good bowl game with that schedule that they have. Okay, 7:53 Mountain, 8:53 Central Time on a Tuesday. We'll take our final break, come back, wrap the show with the coaches poll is out. Where does K-State, KU, everyone else stack up in that? That's next on the Morning Blitz.
When severe weather strikes, you need to stay informed. At NWKS Radio, we break in anytime, anywhere, giving you the latest watches and warnings to protect your family. When severe weather breaks out, we break in. Severe weather coverage is brought to you by Roof Masters of Colby, Pathway Ag, and Andrew Flanagan of Farm Bureau Financial Services. NWKS Radio, your weather safety station.
Summer is heating up, and Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby has everything you need to make the most of it. Tame that lawn with top-notch weed and feed from Ultimate Fertilizer, and keep those bugs away with powerful pesticides. Plus, Ego mower blowers and trimmers to get that job done fast. Fire up some summer flavor with a Traeger grill or a Blackstone griddle, and if you're building a fence or even fixing a sprinkler, they've got the building materials and supplies to keep your projects moving. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, your summer project headquarters.
At FNB Bank, we understand the backbone of our community is our local farmers and ranchers. Whether you're growing crops, raising livestock, or investing in new equipment, we're here to help you succeed. Our agricultural loans are tailored to meet the unique needs of your farm, with flexible terms from people who understand what it takes to make it in agriculture. When you partner with FNB Bank, you're working with neighbors who know the land and are invested in your success. FNB Bank, rooted in our community, growing with you. Member FDIC.
Big deals are rolling at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Drive off in a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 with $3,750 purchase allowance or 0% APR for 36 months and no payments for 90 days. Upgrade to the Sierra 1500 Denali and get up to $5,750 off or 0% for 36 months. Or go big with the Sierra 3500 Pro. $2,750 off or 3.9% for 48 months. Don't wait. Stop by Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland today or shop online at hurlchev.com.
It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Hey, everyone! Come and see how good I look!
Your daily dose of sports.
All right, 5 minutes till we're out of here on a Tuesday morning. Thanks to Shreyas Laddha for once again joining the program. And always thanks again to you for tuning in and listening. FNB Bank text line still open if you'd like to get your thoughts and comments in here at the end of the program. The top 25 coaches poll for college football was released yesterday. And just to run through that rather quickly, I mean, nothing, Texas, the number one team at this point in time. Which I was shocked to learn that they have never been the number one team in the coaches poll. The first time in the history of the coaches poll that Texas opens at number one. That's nuts. I mean, Texas has been a power going back to like the 60s, the 50s and 60s. I mean, trust me, I love watching sports documentaries. It's just amazing. They've never been number one in the coaches poll, but they edge out Ohio State and Penn State, who are second and third, respectively. Then it goes Georgia, Notre Dame, Clemson, 4 through 6, Oregon, Alabama, LSU, Miami, the top 10. There are no Big 12 teams in the top 10, but the number 11th team is from the Big 12. That would be Arizona State coming in there at number 11. And then you've got to make your way down to number 20 before you find the next Big 12 team, and that would be the Kansas State Wildcats coming off that 9-4 season is Chris Kleiman's crew. So number 20 behind Indiana and just ahead of Texas A&M is Kansas State. And there are a couple more. Then there's 3 more. In fact, including Kansas State, there are 4 Big 12 teams from 20 on out to 2025. Kansas State at 20, Iowa State at 22, BYU at 23, Texas Tech at 24. So a total of 5 teams from the Big 12 is in. That's more than the ACC, less than the SEC, and the Big 10. The SEC has got 9 teams in the coaches poll top 25, with 4 of them in the top 10. The Big 10 has, I think, 6 teams in the top 25, with 3 of them in the top 10 of this top 25 preseason coaches poll. Here's the funny thing, though, that I found interesting is that and I see it even more and more. I love to watch some of the preseason shows that they do where they, especially camp, like the Big Ten Network does a camp tour show. They go to each camp. I think it'd be so much fun to go to each camp and watch camp and get to kind of put your own and give your thoughts on what you see. And and I've been watching this show for many years now, but it's amazing how, they go to these camps and, for the most part, they're always going to pump them up because it's a part of their network and stuff. They probably don't really say the true truth. They try to find the positives and point those out and then stick to those positives. But here's the thing that stands out to me is that people in this day and age of football, we just don't know. I mean, first of all, the coaches poll is sometimes even done by the coaches. It's like, hey, assistant to me, why don't you help me fill this out? Yeah, that looks good. Just send it in. I mean, it's kind of a crummy deal. The media probably does a better job at the poll, which that's AP Top 25, I think, is coming out here August 11th. It's coming out here in a few days. But the coaches poll is out. Kansas State at number 20. The top Big 12 team, Arizona State at number 11. But here's the thing that stands out to me is that no one really knows what's going to happen this year because of portal and the changing of rosters and coaches and all kinds of stuff each and every year. The disconnect from season to season is so much bigger than it ever was prior. You used to kind of, know, well, this team graduated a lot of seniors, so they might be rebuilding. And this team, it's got a really, really good up and coming, sophomore and junior class. So I think they could be really good this year. You kind of had an idea and you knew their coach was there. Now there's just so much movement all the time. It's so hard to know what you have, what portal transfers are going to hit, which ones are going to bust. It's so hard. And no one really knows what to think about all that, which brings me to my point, because I talk about Kansas State being 20th and the second best team in the Big 12, according to, the coaches poll. But then you go to like On3's Brett McMurphy, who recently released his preseason top 25. And he's got Kansas State as the top team in the Big 12 all the way up at number 13 and Texas A&M at number 12. I mean, Brett McMurphy has 2 teams that are in the coaches poll outside the top 20, inside the top 15. He's got Texas A&M and then Kansas State at 12 and 13. He's got Utah, who's a team that's not even in the top 25, at number 17. He has Arizona State, who, once again, everyone thinks is going to be the top team this year for the Big 12, at number 20. So they're the third best team in the Big 12 at this point in time in his rankings. And then Texas Tech down there at 23. So 4 teams in the Big 12, according to Brett McMurphy. It's just, I think the point I'm trying to make is that everybody doesn't know, and everyone's just kind of throwing something up against the wall and hoping that it sticks, because you just don't know in this day and age of college football. You probably have a good idea who's going to be in the top 5. That's probably the easiest thing. But when you get outside of the top 5, the top 8, you really don't know. It comes down to, did those portals hit? Did these kids develop really well? And did the portal class hit? Did the kids develop well? Were you able to keep some of your roster around? The schedule? There's just so many. And that's the thing about watching these. Is we need to see games before we can actually tell how good a team is. Once again, my point going back to getting rid of all preseason polls would be handy. So then you could actually have a fair and balanced, I think, opinion of that going forward.
High drive, deep left, grand slam! And back lifts his ball deep to right. How about a walk-off Brady? Thomas to the 10. Difference going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes flings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
Well, news came down yesterday, kind of quiet in the background, that the NCAA basketball tournament will not expand to more than 68 teams than what it currently is for the 25-26 tournament. There were, once again, lots of talks over the last couple of weeks and months that they might expand it to 70-plus teams, 72, maybe 76. But it sounds like they will not expand from the 68 from where they are right now, at least for this coming tournament. Could change in 26, 27, possibly, but no change this year. I wish they'd just leave it alone. It's already, the bubble this year was kind of a questionable bubble. I don't know if you need to continue to include more teams, honestly, if you're being completely honest. Like I said before, it'd be probably better. Like, I think maybe 32. I think 32 is where it was like back in the 80s. I think that would be fine. I really do. I really do. Speaking of which, it was interesting to see The Athletic put out this article talking about if college basketball was instead of college football, if college basketball was the thing, that the metric that changed conference realignment where teams would go. It's fascinating to see that. I mean, Kansas and Kansas State stay in the Big 12, but teams like Colorado and Nebraska, they're completely kicked out of the Big 12 or the Big 10. They're in this other like mid-level thing called the Central. It's interesting to see if it was college basketball where different programs would be. That is for sure. But football is the king. Why? It makes the most money. That's why it's the king. All right, that'll do it for the program today. Thanks again to Shreyas. A lot of thanks to you. We'll see you back here again tomorrow in 23 hours. It's been the Blitz.
Classic rock plays here. This is Rocket 102.5. KKCI, Goodland, Burlington.